it's for the few folks who listen to our show for the past year or so, it's not a good way to start a show. Right off the bat, we jump into the sad flute, but I think we thought it would be appropriate to do that tonight. Thank you guys for listening to the Cantina MX podcast. Welcome to the show. I really appreciate having you guys on. We are live on the YouTube, and of course, you can listen to this in our previous editions of the Cantina MX podcast at the Podcast Center on iTunes as well as on Google Play. So we do appreciate y'all's patronage. My name is John Jagu. We're going to get right to it. Another, I think, extremely disappointing result for Mexico today, not in numbers and as well as performance. We will dive into Mexico's 4-1 loss to Germany in the semifinals of the Confederation Cup, sending them to the third place game to play against Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal for third place. Bright and early Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Pacific. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of folks that will tune in to watch that game. And of course, we were hoping to have our technical director on to set up a call for you folks, a number to call a little later in the show, which we hope to do probably about an hour into the show, and then we'll wrap it up with with episode 4, A New Hope, as we always do at the end, and see what we can do. So we will do all of that for you guys today. We have a limited panel right now, but I'm sure our esteemed pundits will climb on as the evening progresses. But we got an East Coast guy and a West Coast guy on the show with us tonight. We'll start in the West Coast because that's just the order I have it on my little Google app here, and that's Joel Aceves, who is in South Los Angeles. Joel, it was deja vu all over again.
John, just when I was starting to get some confidence in the team, they let me down, John. I opened my heart.
Just when you thought you were out, they pulled you back.
They punched me right in the nuts, yes. No, I expected more from the players. I wasn't expecting much from Osorio. I knew he was going to do something like this. Well, I was
you thought the players would overcome it?
Yes, because it's something we talked about, how we have a generation of players that want to prove something at the national team level. A lot of them are in their this is their last run, and this is a good chance to make their mark. So that's something so we were talking about that, and I figured, sometimes the players would just take matters into their own hands, like I'm just gonna this isn't working, whatever the coach put out, but I'm gonna do my own thing, and I don't know if they tried that, but it was pretty bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's we'll jump into it, a little deeper before we introduce the rest of the panel. But you're right, Joel. It's what we've talked about for the past 2 weeks. This group of guys, as you said, I mean, they couldn't have had a better opportunity to start cementing their legacy. If they want to cement the legacy.
Talent wise, a lot of people say that they are the most, the best national team ever, just individually, talent wise. And the thing I've said is they haven't surpassed previous national teams.
No.
So you can't say that until they do it. And this was a tournament where they could at least,
start that process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's no question. I mean, it was a huge missed opportunity again. I know that Germany's Germany, and I know that yes, they may have had some players that were not necessarily not the usual starter, but it's still Germany, and whether you want to call it the A team, the B team, the C team, I don't care. It's still a team that's worth $500 million, and it's still extremely talented. But they were Germany showed today that they also had some areas that Mexico could and did exploit. They just didn't get a chance to stick it in the back of the net, and the Germans did, and it seemed like the Germans could have, if they wanted to, just scored at will, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Of course, we also want to introduce other member who has joined us tonight, and hopefully will be joining us on a regular basis. Or we're talking about Rigoberto Raton Ayala, who joins us from Orlando. How are you? How are you, Rigo?
I'm still having a tough day. It's been a tough day. I always set myself up for failure, and I had a lot of hope.
So emotionally, you had
I'm
you really
spent.
built it up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I in my head I could see it. I could see it happening. I let my heart take the best of me one more time, and it was just an emotional roller coaster
Pinche
from.
corazón de mierda. What do you? I mean, come on, man.
It was just an emotional roller coaster from the beginning.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be as passionate about it if we didn't have an emotional investment. But on this show, we have to also be very pragmatic. So we'll do that as well. And one thing that I do pride ourselves on is that on the show, I think that yes, we have bias when it comes to certain things, but I think that we're all mature and analytical enough to look at something and dissect it for what it is, and that's what we'll do again. Well, we'll do again tonight. So I do appreciate having both of you guys on. Just to make sure just a little bit better. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Don't want y'all both to start crying on me. So if we need to cheer you up, we'll just drop something. Just every now and then.
Already looking forward to the beginning of Liga MX.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have their big Supercopa game out in LA in a few weeks over at Carson. So they just that's what's crazy about the way that this this summer plays out for Mexico fans is that it's just going to be nothing has stopped. It's just soccer every week. It really is a 52-week a year enterprise, which it's one of the things that we'll talk about. So let's jump into it. Mexico loses 4-1. Germany gets 2 goals inside of 8 minutes to start the game. At that point, it was essentially, I think that most everybody watching probably assumed correctly that the game was over. At that point, there was, it really was 82 minutes of formality. The Germans were able to probe and crush Mexico in the exact way that we thought that they would, which is catching them on a transition and just seeing how, I guess for lack of a better term, mal parado the Mexican defense was, and boom, they get 2 goals just like that. And Mexico had a response. They had some chances, but every time Germany got in the mood, every time they got in the mood, they either came incredibly close to scoring or they scored. And I do believe that if Germany had a vendetta or if they were seeking revenge, they would have gone to the double digits today easily.
Oh yeah, they definitely were not going to score. They definitely didn't want to score 6-7 goals because they could have easily have done it easily.
Yeah, so it was unfortunate, and to me the big decision, at least at the beginning, that gave me pause as far as how I thought this game was going to play out was when I saw that Giovanni Dos Santos, and to his credit, Giovanni was terrific offensively today. He created chances. He had a couple of shots on goal. He was good as far as trying to get the ball back in his attacking third, but that was the only place where he played, and we knew that would happen because that's just who he is. He is a forward. He's not a midfielder, so let him be a forward. And he was the one that came in for Andres Guardado, who was suspended. We all thought it would be Marco Fabian, at least me personally, thinking that Fabian had a little bit more defensive discipline because he has to, because that's how because the only reason he's on the field in the first place in Frankfurt is that he has to have that defensive discipline. It's because otherwise his coach won't let him play. So I was hoping that it would be him that would come on. Unfortunately, it was Giovanni. Giovanni was not as good defensively, and again against a team like Germany that can, I know that they ceded possession to Mexico. They can keep the ball as long as they want. They have the players and the talent to do whatever they want. with the ball, and it seemed to me that that Mexico really, really needed to pack the midfield against them, so that they wouldn't have to get caught out defensively. And sure enough, within the first 6 minutes, then Mexico fans' worst nightmares happen. The exact same way that that Chile scored against Mexico last summer, with the way that we started seeing just throughout the tournament. They didn't start off this poorly defensively, but as the tournament got on, we saw that those gaps were there. Especially on trying to cover teams on a quick break, etc. Or just and the Germans, I'm sure that was the first thing they noticed when they watched the tape. Like, hey, look at this, we're gonna have fun with this. And they scored 2 goals in 8 minutes. It was game over at that point. And that was when a lot of us, at least me, were wondering, okay, so it's 2-0. The last time this happened, they gave up 5 more. Are they going to be able to do something or what? And then they were able to maintain it at least for the next 40 minutes. But Joel, it was, as you mentioned, it was tactical blunder, but the players really in those first 8 minutes, they were just unbelievably tight, and they made a lot of. In the first 30 seconds, they were dispossessed inside, very close to their own 18. That's how the game started.
Yeah, Germany knew what they were doing. It was obvious, but it's something I saw at the Centenario, which was the same mistakes that Mexico kept doing, and the difference is that some of these teams weren't as clinical. We've actually been seeing it since the Chile friendly, where that first half where Chile could have been up 3-4-0, but Mexico ends up winning.
Right, and but we thought that the Mexico had shored that up, because granted they're playing teams of a lesser caliber, but against the U.S. and Columbus as well, that we didn't see those awful gaps that we saw in the Copa America. We didn't see it in the first, the first game against Portugal, and then almost for the first half against New Zealand, but it just started creeping in more and more and more. And then by the time the Russia game had come up, Russia, the same thing. They could just they attacked at will, and could get dangerous plays, and the Germans were not gonna they were not gonna take that lightly, and they did what they had to do.
No, go on, Rigo.
No, what I was going to say was, against USA, the goal comes right up the middle. Against Portugal, the goals come off counterattacks. New Zealand, the goal came right up the middle. Russia, the same thing. So there was a trend there that this team, you could pretty much counter them right up the middle, because there was nobody there that was going to stop you in between the midfield and the center backs. Going back to the Gio thing, which I thought was a mistake, and then it was a mistake where he played him, because if you watch Gio during the game, yes, he did have some good offensive plays, but he was supposed to be playing on the left side of the midfield, and he would completely drift over to the right side, and sometimes you'd see him like right on top of Jonathan.
Yeah, Gio's best position and what he'll always
is on the right side.
Well, on the right side is for him to play both sides. So him to play in the middle and just be a roaming guy.
Yeah.
And that's great if you wanted to do that, but then you either have to sacrifice a winger, because you can't sacrifice a midfielder to let him do. They were playing with 2 midfielders.
Well, that's the other thing. The other thing was Alanis was coming up, and almost he'd find himself in that role, because as a natural center back, you tend to drift in. So he would push up, and then he'd drift into the left, and now he's on the left side, and now there's no left back. And I think on both goals, when they make the run, there's a winger that pushes up, and on the right side, Alamisa's side, and he's nowhere to be seen on both goals, on the first 2 goals.
Well, the first goal was Hector Moreno just heading the ball to a German, and then the Germans just going on a break, and it was all over after that. And then the second one was a little so, but just the they had their midfielder make, they basically beat the press. And one thing I've noticed, and it wasn't just Germany. I mean, it's something that we've seen, especially with in the Osorio era, is forwards. All they have to do is just find that spot, that soft spot between the two defenders, and neither guy is going to mark them.
It just seems like they get lost in when they're caught off guard.
Yeah.
Or on counter. It just seems like they lose all their positioning, and all they want to do is everybody go towards the ball. The other thing was, I mean, me personally, if I was going to come out with this team and I was going to play against Germany, I would have relinquished the possession to Germany, and I would have been the team that was pressuring high and trying to counterattack. Osorio, from the beginning of the game, like, they took possession and they try to play it from the back. They try to take on that pressure, even when literally the whistle blows and the Germans are right on top of them, and they see that and they continue to play from the back, and it's just a mistake. Like, they can't do it. They can't play against that high pressure. It's just not when you're playing against a team who is actually really talented, they can't do it. Right. It only took 10 minutes of them high pressuring them for them to give them 2 goals. And I just thought that was a mistake on Osorio's part. If those were his tactics, which it seems like that's his tactic, is to play from the back, build the game up to the front. And
well, see, I have no problem with that, but if they're going to high pressure you like that, and then just send the 50-50 ball down the way, and or have a forward come crashing down, to break it, and they did neither of those things. It was you have to figure out a way to break the press. They didn't do it, and it was like I said, it was deja vu all over again. And Mexico did have some chances later in the first half to at least get one back and give the team a semblance of hope. And again, and I think that this Germany team, were not unbeatable. I mean, they were there for the taking. They could have been it could have been a lot more competitive than it was. And unfortunately, Mexico just didn't. They swung and missed today. It was very. At some point, we can talk about it was Osorio with this but as Joel said, I mean, these guys have been playing together. Some of them have been playing together for over 10 years. And if for them to perform the way they performed in the first 20 minutes of that game, we know whether it was nerves or whatever it was. I mean, you guys. I mean, isn't this why they play? For players, is this to play a game like this in a tournament like this against a team like that? I mean, isn't that what you dream about your entire life? Wow, I mean, I'd love to play, the Germans in a semifinal of a tournament. That's just, wow, how great would that be? And
I mean,
opportunity missed. It was unfortunate for Mexico.
To me, it never felt like Mexico was, really putting the German team in complicated situations where the German team couldn't handle it. It felt like the German team took their foot off the gas. Mexico started moving forward, but in that last line of the defense, they were solid back there. And then Mexico went to the old, let's drop crosses in, and that's just not going to work. Not when your striker is 5'9" and the Germans are 6'3", 6'4". It's just not going to work. So it just felt like there was no idea. And I mean, I looked up and down. I'm watching the game, and then I'm thinking on the bench, and I'm like, what could he possibly do to change the outcome?
Right.
It did seem like at some points, maybe like around the 30 to 35th minute, like the Germans kind of like. They kind of like maybe fell asleep a little bit or just relaxed a little bit too much. and you saw some through balls go through and some passes, but still, it never felt like Mexico was almost there. Like I think their first shot on target happened in like almost the 40th minute or something.
No,
like
that's
that.
not true because I at least had one early, like in the 10th minute or so. The people forget, but he did crack one. It was like from 35 yards out, and it bounced like 5 times before it went into the goalie's hands.
No.
But there was a shot on goal. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was just the stats will say that Mexico had the 20-something shots on goal, and they had 62% of the possession, or maybe that's a little too high. Maybe it was
61.
61. Yeah,
8 shots on goal, 26 shots altogether.
But the reality is that half of those passes are between defenders.
Oh yeah,
they're they don't have any probing passes that advance them in the attacking zone. Like you said, and then they would send a lot of crosses in, and they'd send crosses to nobody because they didn't look and see what was going on. They didn't see who was there. They had the expectation that a guy was going to be there, but he wasn't there. Now flip that with how the Germans play, where they know their guy's going to be there, so they can go ahead and just knock that pass, on that first goal. That's what a 40-yard pass into the middle, bounces once, just perfectly in stride for a guy to just all he has to do is just give it a little flick with his foot, and it wasn't even a hard shot, and it goes into the back of the net.
It's sad because that team hasn't been together that long. Our team should know each other like the back of their hand.
Right. And and there are some players that frankly were probably there more for reputation than anything else that probably didn't need to start, but it was just it was what we had. I think Miguel Layun I think we're starting to see why he didn't play for Porto for the past 6 weeks of the season or whatever it was. He was not particularly sharp. Now to his defense, he's more of a left back, and of course they had him playing right back.
And, this just goes back to Osorio not okay. You want to take all the European guys, I get that. I have no issue with that. But then if you're going to take all the European guys, also take players that are excelling in their positions in Mexico. This whole not having a natural anchor, a natural center defensive midfielder is big. And especially when you have guys who you either have a guy who's a center midfielder and his natural instinct is to drift forward with the other midfielders, or you have center backs who aren't as mobile as a guy who naturally plays that position, a Molina, Gallito. The same thing with the left backs. Like, why are you doing this experiment where you're trying to play guys out of their position when you have, for example, a Luis Reyes who plays left back? If you want to experiment, I before the game started, somebody asked me like, who would you have started? And I said I would have put Aquino at left back. And people were like, but he can't play defense. And I'm like, first of all, Aquino has the speed to keep up with anybody. So he's going to drop back. And he's going to come up and give you that support to the winger. And if you notice during the game, Aquino was probably one of the better players the first half. And he made a lot of runs all the way back to cover Alanis, who would push up and not drop back.
There's no question that Aquino is probably the biggest hustler on the team. I don't think that there's any any doubt in that.
The reason why this is Osorio's fault, and it's the players' fault too. I don't want to take away from the players, but the reason why it's Osorio's fault is because he chose these guys, and he knew that he was taking players that he didn't have enough players for every position.
What is most frustrating for me when it comes to Osorio is, it's almost as if he doesn't. You think that he studies. In fact, we know. They spend hours studying and scouting and analyzing the opponent, but I think that they forget that opponent actually, okay, well, they do this. Well, yeah, well, you know what? No one else does what they do better on the planet. So you need to really pay attention. It just seems like he doesn't take the other team as seriously as he should.
Or doesn't he doesn't play to his strengths. I mean, we know that he doesn't play to his strengths.
Well,
his goal is to try and take away the other team's strengths, but he fails at that too.
The issue with the fullbacks though is that there aren't really good quality ones. I mean, I know that you have some that you think are up to par. I personally don't think. I personally think that's generally a weakness for Mexico. I don't see anybody that really anywhere close to Salcido's form when he was in his heyday.
Hell, even Massa.
And I think that kind of on some level, because I think early on the first games that Osorio coached, he did try a few natural fullbacks in those positions, and they sucked. Torres Nilo didn't even make the Gold Cup. And seeing as how he sees the team's biggest weakness as set pieces and dead ball plays, he's figured, all right, I got no left backs to really serve the full function of a fullback, so I'm gonna get a bunch of tall guys. Hopefully they can defend, and then nullify that weakness on set pieces. I think that's his kind of like what he's trying to go for. I could kind of understand and on some level agree with it. The one thing that I don't think he planned for were the injuries, because the two players that he had both got hurt. Regardless whether that's their natural position or not, those are the two guys that he had in mind that he was going to be plugging in those positions, but they both got hurt. And
but they got hurt. But even before this game, they weren't playing well. No. Good goal.
But they weren't conceding goals off set pieces, and they were scoring a lot of goals off set pieces.
Well, Dan,
so on some level, you can kind of understand that philosophy that he was going with.
I get that. I get that he wants to stop set pieces, but this team hasn't been giving up goals off set pieces, but they've been giving up goals off of in play.
Yeah, so unfortunately, he addressed one issue and worsened another.
Yeah, so he's played 2 knockout games, and he's given up 11 goals in those. And then in the 2 tournaments he's played, they played, I guess, was it 4 games each, and they're -4. 17 goals have been scored. So they've given up 6 goals in the previous 6 games, and they've given up 11 in their 2 knockout games since he's been playing. And luckily, as you say, Dan, I don't think any of those have been off set pieces. So he's shored up a problem that was. I mean, what would y'all rather do? Give up a set piece every now and then, or get torched by 5?
Give up a set piece. I mean, it's. I don't even think it's that big of an issue where you can't have guys that are a bit shorter play on set pieces, because you can have your strikers come back down and help out. It's just really frustrating to watch. You're sitting there and at least for me, I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game and I'm like, I could have known this. I knew this was going to happen, and there could have been ways to try and prevent this. And he had the players.
To me, the easiest way to prevent it was to put a 5-man line.
Because I mean, that's what Germany did.
Yeah.
Germany went out there with a 5-4-1, knowing that Mexico was going to go full on attack, and just
but that's what I don't understand is that who in their right mind? Oh yeah, Germany. Oh yeah, we got to take the game to them. I mean, who thinks like that?
Yeah.
I'm serious.
And also, John, going off of that, this is the Mexico side that I believe in the 5 previous games they had conceded the first goal.
It was 4, but you're right.
Well, the USA game too. If you count that.
Right, the USA game and the 3 group games, so it's 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I mean to concede so many games in a row, and then you're going up against Germany. I think that also to not take that into account was a big mistake.
I guess for me personally,
they were all similar.
My biggest issue, I guess, with the lineup is not so much the fullbacks, because I think that's just lose no matter what he does. I think in that position for the most part. But the midfield is where definitely a head scratcher. I mean, you're gonna put out only 3 midfielders, and one of them is likely not to help out at all on defense.
And the other guy is iffy at best.
And both of the other 2 guys, you could argue, are more offensively inclined still.
No,
and then the other thing is like he only,
and then at the end of the game was, he was just absolute, because he had to do defending for 2 people.
Oh, he was completely gassed. He had nothing left.
Yeah, he was gone.
You could see he was trying to muster the will to just chase the ball, but that's all he was doing. Probably the single biggest factor right there is just lining up. I think all of us kind of wanted to see Marco, thinking he's going to be slightly more offensive if that was the approach that he was going to go.
And then the worst part about that decision, Dan, is when he does come in. I mean, did you see how well Mexico started playing?
Yeah.
And then he just ripping shot after shot, and then he scores that great goal. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
You know what also I found with Mexico not having Guardado, and Mexico's a team that needs that player that's a team leader. And if you're going to be lacking it, I felt he should have played with a player that's similar to that. Not style, but at least command the players in the field.
Who would that player have been?
I mean, Marquez, even though I wasn't a favorite, or Orbelin, but I mean not Orbelin, Oribe Peralta. I think those are players that have that attitude.
It's just, I mean, at this stage in a lot of these guys' careers, to need that is disappointing.
But it happens. Look at Brazil.
No,
after they lost Neymar, and their morale went down. We've seen it in Argentina when they lost Maradona at '94, and they had a really talented team. And so you see it sometimes because you just need someone to rally, that's going to rally the group. Or pick him up, or just inspire some confidence. So I do feel
Chicharito is trying to assume that role, and I got to tell you, for of all the things to be actually happy about was when that German defender tried to pull the Cuauhtemoc on Chicharito. We just. She should have just pushed him away, and the dude acted like he'd been, elbowed or whatever it was.
It killed time and it pissed him off. It worked.
Yeah, and Chicharito. Well, I mean, but
it Chicharito play for a good bit.
So you're saying it was to ice the.
It was a successful throw. Yeah, I mean, Mexico was putting on some pressure. This is a good way to just stop it. Just delay it a little bit, make them that much more anxious, which I'm sure it worked. I mean, it pissed everybody out because it was, he was clearly faking. I mean, he literally just pushed off. He didn't really push him. He just pushed off. So, yeah, I thought it was masterful. I was like, man, these guys are just, they're even good at that.
I don't know. You know what, John? I think Jimenez more than Chicharito might take over that role.
He plays more. I mean, he plays a lot. He plays a lot of heart. I'll give you that.
Yeah. With Chicharito, I seen him just get completely lost.
I also thought at halftime he would realize that Gio wasn't working, and he would bring in Marco right at halftime.
But that's the problem, though, is that in his mind, Gio was working because Gio was doing great offensively.
Gio has that one that he give and go with Cheech that almost felt
a couple
like
of shots and stole some ball,
he should have one timed it instead of trying to dribble into the box. It just felt like the subs is like he doesn't. I feel like he doesn't react. Like in previous games, he's reacted. In this game, His subs weren't done in a timely fashion. I thought the Aquino sub was terrible. That was my personal opinion.
And someone has had to explain to me why Carlos Vela didn't even
did not play.
Didn't play at all. Didn't sniff the field. I mean,
So,
shouldn't you want to? I'm not just call me crazy. Call me crazy. I know. I know that you guys think sometimes that I could be psychotic. I could be just like, just lose it. But wouldn't you want, regardless of, your pendejada systems? Hey, I need this is the best team in the world. I probably should go at them with my best guys and just figure out a way to make it work with them.
That's why I've said it, John. There is no brakes on the rotation train. He's not stopping that.
You know what's funny? In the last podcast we did, I said I wouldn't mind seeing him in the midfield just because he has a lot of ball control and a lot of possession. So then I'm listening to Osorio, do the post-game conference, and he talks about how he thought about putting him there in the midfield instead of Gio, but he felt Gio was better for that position. And it's just like mind-boggling how you can think that Gio is better than Carlos Vela in any aspect of the game at this point in their careers. But I mean, I was fine with the three guys up top. I would have liked to see Marco and Vela.
Well, to Aquino's credit, and I don't want to trash because I honestly believe that of if I had to grade the players out of the 23, I mean, like Aquino would probably be number 1 or number 2. I mean, he really had a terrific tournament. I know. I mean, it was, he played in the time that he played really well. I mean, even today, I agree. I mean, he did what he had to do, and there were some times where, he may not have been somewhere at a certain time, but he would track back defensively. He got Mexico out of a hole. He created chances. He was, he took the players on in front of him, which is what he I thought he did just fine. So I mean, I would definitely rate him as someone who probably had the best tournament for a Mexican player.
I mean, I thought so too. That's why. I mean, what?
But I would have played Carlos Vela. I would have played my absolute best players. You have to, and then you bring. I mean, Aquino was terrific coming off the bench too. So,
or if he loves experiment with Aquino at left back.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. Is that this isn't a game where you experiment.
Why are you? But see, for me, why are you debating Vela or Gio playing in the midfield when you have Marco, who was playing in the Bundesliga, who's actually
but Marco is I mean, he's an attacking midfielder by nature.
But the only reason that they let him do that is that he has to defend. I mean, he's not going to. You can't get away with that in the Bundesliga like you can in Liga MX.
I watched him play a lot of times, and the guy worked his ass off. It was clear why he was one of the better players on the team is because of how much hustle. I mean, yeah, he was there offensively, of course.
I mean, that coach lit a major fire under Marquito's ass. There's no question.
He literally was box to box throughout the season. To me, it was the natural guy to throw in there who was going to give you at the very minimum hustle and is going to be able to offer some danger, hopefully, moving forward.
Well, you saw the danger, Dan, because not 30 seconds after he came on the pitch, he ripped off a shot because they were giving it to him, and he has the talent to take them.
So I mean that to me is like the mind-boggling part is like you're debating whether to put two forwards in a midfield spot when you have a midfielder already. That to me and me personally,
and a midfielder who thrived against the players that they were going up against.
Yeah. Who's familiar with them, who knows, wasn't gonna, and I think that confidence and that knowledge of knowing how they play, you could see it on the field. Actually, he's like, no, I can hang with these dudes. I've been doing it all year.
Yeah, it was definitely the
now.
Most
granted,
decision.
I mean, you are walking in no pressure at that point, but still, it was he was like one of the few bright spots, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to see more of him. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was, like I said, it was super frustrating to watch. I was literally having an aneurysm from the beginning of the point. From the beginning of the game started, I felt like I was just like I had anxiety, and it was just
John,
really hard.
you had mentioned why he didn't start Vela. I think what he did was again thinking too far ahead in his chess
He
moves.
was going to save him for the final.
I think
No,
so.
I heard if you listen to the post game, he says that he felt that physically Jimenez was better suited to play in that position versus the defenders that the German team was going to have. I mean, this was his explanation. He felt that physically Jimenez was better.
So Jimenez played out on the wing the whole time. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And he was
And
a
that's the
natural
rough part.
striker.
I think when, and that's the one I think really limiting part of the 4-3-3 is just playing with those, with only one striker, is you sacrifice two of our best players. You're forcing one of them into a natural position that
You have to have really, really talented wingers, in my opinion, to make the 4-3-3 really like Aryan Robin types to make it work.
Tecatito types.
Yeah.
Or really good chemistry between your guys so they could switch off, which they have done before.
And I personally thought that a Chucky with either Raul or Javier up in the middle and Vela, I thought that would have been plenty good. It's what I was expecting when Tecatito went down, and it's just odd that, like, why would you put Aquino? Like, Chucky was literally the best player of the season. You know, I mean, I understand he didn't play at first, you know, because of the whole contract thing, but he got back. He looked all right. He got a crucial goal. And if you really intend to really attack and go after the game, why not put up your best offensive player at least? And that's another thing too. Like he threw out Gio, which I was, you know, kind of hopeful that he would do okay, and I think he did do all right offensively. But I mean, you say you're going to put out a really offensive lineup and really go for the win, but then you don't even put out your best offensive players out there. That,
I mean, it goes back. It goes back to the whole when I was, you know, arguing about this whole fullback thing in a 4-3-3. Especially when you're playing against a five-man back line, those wingers are going up against two defenders every time. And a guy like Chucky, first of all, he's been pretty mediocre in his run on the national team, regardless of that goal he scored the other day. And then when he's going up against double teams every time he gets the ball, when Bella goes up against double teams every time he gets the ball, they're just not as effective. I mean, Bella wasn't having a great tournament. Yes, he's our best player, and he should have been out there. But I mean, because of the way the team is being tactically positioned, he wasn't having a great tournament. And it goes back to this whole, you know, in the 4-3-3, the wingers need support behind them to take away a little bit of the defenders that are in front of them. And I think you saw it a little bit with, I think it was in the second half, I think it was Chucky and Alanis. I think Alanis made a couple overlapping runs to Chucky, and it gave him space. It took the other defender away from him. But you need that the whole game for it to work. These guys are just out there on one-on-twos, and unless you're Leo Messi, you know, it's hard to get, you know, by two defenders every time.
Man, that's what they call, you know, Joel. He could do it all the time. It was he was a master. How'd you beat the double team, Joel? What was your trick?
Oh man, I don't want to go there, John.
Okay, so Mexico loses. They lose big. They lose in very similar fashion to how they lost against Chile as far as optics. So what does that do for Osorio? I mean, is he? Will he be in Russia or is Famex would say, you know what, man, you know, we need to go a different way here.
You know what, John? They were saying after the Chile game how that was a one-off in like an accident type of match. And a year later, we're seeing the exact same thing.
Right.
And to me, you know, it makes it clear to me that it just the team
maybe Maybe he meant those last 3 were an accident, but the first
No, no,
4
no.
were totally earned.
I mean like a lot of the media, and also fans that have been following the team because to me, CONCACAF, and we've said it here before, World Cup qualifying has been smoke and mirrors. To me, it's just a cycle where other teams are pretty weak. I wouldn't consider the Confederation weak, but it's just the teams are just at a low point. They're transitioning for the most part. So
It's not as difficult as it has been in the past.
no, no,
And I mean,
and
and
yeah, in the past you could name players like Honduras had Suazo playing and doing really good in Serie A when Serie A was a stronger league. And now they don't really have anything that any player that comes close to that. You know, even with like the U.S., their best player is 18 years old. You know, it says a lot. But just going back to that, we've been really dominant here. But then when we do play the teams that we're supposed to, you know, do really,
well,
I wouldn't say exactly
the
beat, but
thing that I noticed, and I think it's a massive fatal flaw for Osorio is that Mexican teams in general, in Liga MX, or just the natural tendency because of where they play, whether it's in altitude or in the jungle or whatever it is that they play at a slower pace. So it is a much more open game than it is just about anywhere in the world as far as the overall pace of the game. So they're always. I mean, how many times do you see Mexico attack Germany and all 11 guys are inside their own half, and they're moving like guys in football. The lines are moving exactly the same way. They press at the same time. It's just not just. And then when teams attack Mexico, you don't see any of that at all. You see guys. Giovanni, I know it's a bad example, was walking back. I mean, he was watching guys, 10 yards in front of him jog with the ball, and he wouldn't do anything about it. I don't know how many times they pass the ball out to the wing, and there's no one there to cover him. The guy's got like 30 yards in front of him, and it's not just under us; it happens constantly. And add to that the fact that these guys don't play with each other. I mean, how many times has he gone to a different back four? You can't do that. It's like an offensive line. There's so for a team whose style of play is to let the team come to them. You're letting the team come to you, but you guys aren't positioned. You don't have the coordination enough to position yourselves to where you can catch guys on an offside trap or hey, if this guy runs at this point of the field, you have to cover him because I'm worried about Southern. They don't have any of that because they don't play together that often. They play together with a different group of guys every week, every time they've gone out. So they're inviting indecision in an area where you can't have any of it. And you see guys walk in because they split the two defenders because neither guy, one guy's pointing to the other guy, hey, why aren't you covering him? And then the wingers, the wing backs, I mean, good Lord. I can't remember a time where Mexico had the least. Mexico's always been known for having great wingbacks, terrific wingbacks. What happened?
I mean, I don't think we don't. I just.
Well, but they were a huge liability this entire tournament. I mean, that goal that Ronaldo scores, or that Portugal scores. I mean, you didn't see either wing back in the entire replay of the goal.
No, the wing back was Cero. He's the one that fell. I mean,
well, he got burned.
Layun on the other side. Layun on the other side.
Yeah, where was Layun on the other side?
He's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, right.
He probably had the worst tournament. Close to.
I mean, but again,
does that mean is his time up? I mean, it looks like his time might be up just as a professional.
I know you guys think this is a fandom bias, but Chivas have the two best wingbacks in the league. they pretty much. I mean, so Aquino just basically hopped out of Chapo's pocket so he could play this tournament because Chapo locked him down in the final. And they, I mean, they would keep. I mean, I get it. It's Liga MX. It's Liga MX, but these guys had an incredible tournament. I get it. They're short.
Preach, brother Rigo, preach.
How do you not call these guys up when these guys are natural fullbacks?
Hey, you know what, Rigo? Other coaches have done it. Aguirre did it when he took over the team. He called up the players that were doing good in Pachuca and Cruz Azul. And then Piojo did it with the León and the América players. So yeah, he could have done it and it would have made perfect sense to do what you're saying. Because these are players that play together all the time. They know each other.
I mean, I don't know. It just. I mean, I get you want to take all the Europeans, and you should take all the Europeans.
I don't agree with that. I mean,
yeah, I don't agree with that either.
No, but I mean, doesn't mean that.
I mean, Miguel Layún should have never even been called up for this tournament, based solely on the fact that he didn't play for like the last two months.
Again,
he was benched.
I mean, Herrera the same thing. He hadn't been playing good up until a couple weeks ago.
I think he actually had a pretty good tournament
when he wasn't at center defensive mid.
Even still, I think I'm not gonna say he had a single bad game. I don't think so. I think there's plenty of fingers to be pointed at. I don't think any of them need to be pointed at him. Especially for what he was being asked to do.
He was being asked, and he gave it a yeoman's effort every game. There's no question.
I mean, and he did say
I think him and Jonah deserve a high praise.
He did say that he was not comfortable at that position in one of the post-game interviews. But he was doing what he was asked to do. But again, like I see his what he's thinking when he's bringing all the Europeans. Like, okay, these guys play in Europe, they play in European leagues. So I see that. So then, if that's 11, 12 guys, then why not the guys who are playing the best in Mexico at the time and bring them to the national team with those guys as well? It just didn't feel like he did that.
Well, I think the reason he goes with the European guys is because they're clearly, for the most part, the better players. I mean, Piojo realized that real quick. So, I mean, these guys are absolutely a class of a different class than those other guys. They just, for the most part, that doesn't mean that you can't plug in certain players that would naturally fill the position. Like
right.
So like right now, I think Layún is a natural person that like a player that you could make a strong argument not to play. I mean, despite the fact that he's
the Gold Cup team.
Like you can say that yes,
who was
he's
the
one
other?
of the best.
So you had I'm sorry, Dan. So there was Chapo Sanchez for Chivas. Who's their other wing back?
Aris Hernandez.
He was okay.
The Santos backs are pretty good.
I mean, even Luis Reyes is a natural left back.
I thought Luis Reyes, and he would have been. He actually did play pretty well against the Russians. But I was happy to see that he got into the time-honored national team habit of kicking it right at the goalie when you have a chance. We saw it again today. Hey, where's the goalie? Here you go, buddy. Let me see if I can just make you miss. Okay, so back to my Osorio question. So what does this mean for him? Does this mean is he back on the cuerda? He's not going to get fired. We don't think, right?
I don't think so.
I think they're not because the Gold Cup is starting already and he's going to have to coach that. So I think there will be pressure on him for the team to
they're going to make
better.
him coach the Gold Cup. They're going to say, all right, buddy, you're coming to coach the Gold Cup.
I think that was already agreed upon.
I thought that the other guy was going to coach the Gold Cup.
Yeah, but then I think they went back on that.
When did they do that?
I'm not too sure, but I was hearing about for one of the press conference, they were saying that he was going to coach the team, and then you could kind of see they lost some confidence in the squad they have now because they were trying to get 7 players from the Confederaciones to join the Gold Cup.
So you think that's an indication of where they think the squad is? But I mean, it was probably just.
If I'm in the Gold Cup squad or the team practicing for the Gold Cup and I hear that, that's the message I'm getting. Like, snap! I'm not that. They don't think I'm good enough.
Well, maybe the message was, and of course, I'm giving a lot of credit here. Maybe it was meant to send a message to the players. Hey, guess what, guys? We don't think you're good enough. We're gonna replace your ass if you don't step it up. Maybe it was just complete BS. It was just a matter to get the light a fire under the players.
I thought it was kind of disrespectful for Osorio to blame the loss on the injuries.
Well, so that's the other thing. It's like, dude, just accept the fact that you got that what you did not work. Just he cannot accept that. He cannot accept blame.
For him to say, "Oh, we lost because Salcedo and Diego Reyes were injured," I'm almost 110% sure that if Salcedo and Diego Reyes are there, the same thing happens. Because every single team in the group stage was attacking them the same way. They just weren't able to take advantage of the opportunities they had. And Germany did. So for him to sit there and say that is infuriating. Just say you messed up. Just say that you played players out of position, that you didn't have the right tactics, that you messed up in this game, and then you guys are going to go back to the chalkboard and find ways to improve. Don't sit here and say we lost because of injuries, when supposedly you have one of the strongest lineups in the history of Mexico, according to you, and you have guys who are interchangeable that they can play any position. But now all of a sudden a guy is injured, and now it's that kind of cost us the game.
Is that the main factor that he attributed to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cop out. I do think it was a factor, especially Reyes. I think he was also having a pretty decent tournament.
He was. I think he was having a decent tournament at center back.
Wasn't he playing right back?
I mean, he moved them everywhere. I think he played at center back, right back, and.
But that aside, I think the right approach, at least as far as optics, you could have that in the back of your head, in the back of your mind, thinking like, if I would have had this guy, then I would have been able to put this guy in that place. Whatever, that's fine. But from an optics standpoint, just say the right thing. Say I got it wrong.
Right.
I mean,
because all he's doing is making it harder for himself.
Yeah, it makes everybody just hate him a little bit more. Just as like, come on, man! Like, one thing that anybody can appreciate is when you mess up, you wear it, own it. And so yeah, that's disappointing. It kind of infers on some level that he's not learning anything. He's thinking if come the World Cup and I do have these guys at my disposal, then it'll be a totally different outcome.
Even the most soberbio can be humble at times.
Estoy avergonzado.
So,
and I don't see him getting fired.
Well, no, I don't think he's gonna, because it was not bad enough. And the three games,
I do think the wheels are in motion.
Marco saved his ass with that goal.
Yes.
Oh. I'm kind of hopeful, Joel, just because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, give him all right, he screwed up last summer, let's see what he's learned. All of this has been basically just a huge prelude to the Confederations Cup.
Right.
To get another crack at some of the better teams and see how the team has really progressed, if it has. And I personally see that it hasn't, despite the injuries. I still think there's players on that team that can and should be putting out a better performance against a team like this. Because
let me
as
ask
good
you
as
all
they
this,
are, it wasn't even their best players.
Are we guilty of overestimating the talent that the players have?
No, John, I'm not. I know this Mexico team should have measured better because they have. We've seen it.
We've done with more with less in the past.
Yeah, we had that scrub Mex team tie Chile 3-3 in Chile. In
Right.
a Copa America they were hosting, so it's not like they were trying to cruise through that game. So I mean, yeah, we might not. We could still lose to those teams, but we could go down swinging, supposed to go down
Not
after.
swinging.
Yeah, not swinging, man. That was.
So just out of curiosity, when Germany came out, now would that be the technical equivalent of what was it? Was it a swift kick of the nuts and then like grabbing the forehead and smashing it on the knee on the second one, or was it just two really good punches?
They came so quickly that it felt like just one big one.
What she said.
Yeah.
It was like when you fight Mike Tyson in Punch Out. You just one hit and you're down.
Right. Well, it's I along with Dan, some other folks, were given him the benefit of the doubt, and also, but I mean, I always thought that it was like at least in my mind, it was, it was a series of little tests for him, and then this was another. I mean, it was all leading up to this, and I thought that he'd positioned himself pretty well to be able to keep his job. But we said, was it last week, Dan, that if it was if they put a 4 on him, then that's going to be really hard to live that down, and
because seriously, how much can they improve in another year? I mean, the games are going to mean even less.
You know what, Dan? These players aren't improving. That's the thing. I mean, they're already
they're declining.
Yeah, exactly. So he has to have a system that is going to maximize
now hang on,
the potential of the team.
Hang on, Joel. They did improve their loss ratio. They lost by 7. No, they only lost by 3. So it was like a more of the 50%.
Oh, that's what.
It was a better than 50% improvement. I guess that's
what Guillermo Cantu said.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm being serious. He said there was improvement. He said there was improvement.
He probably said it tongue in cheek.
Well, he said that there was improvement. He's like this game. You saw them still fighting towards the end. He's like, when they scored the third one, when they scored the first one in the 88th minute, you saw them fight back, and they almost scored a second one in the 90th or something like that. And I'm just like, this, grabbing straw, like for grasp of
when they went down 3-0, the first thing I thought about was during that interview that he gave was what he's like, yeah, I'll know what to do if we ever go down 3-0 again.
He's
and
plan B. He said he was going to have a plan B this time.
Yeah.
But I think the consensus has been that Germany held back. Everyone had that feeling that they could score,
at will.
Yeah.
Well, what it reminded me of when Mexico gets the 3-1 goal. It was like it's like the guys have had a big bar fight, and the guy that's down on the ground. He's like if you had enough, the guy walks away. He's like he's being nice to him. He could really, and then the guy comes up and like kicks dirt in his, something goes really again, buddy, and then they go and give him another beat down and they get the 4th goal.
I actually did think though that going forward, the team did look pretty good and dangerous. I do think they had, as far as I know, Germany wasn't pushing forward, but at times they really had them stretched. I mean, it took some really good saves to keep it at 0.
You could have.
They were. I mean, Chicharito had and Giovanni. There was a couple of really good chances that if we were even remotely clinical, then who knows? It might have been a slightly different ballgame. But I mean, that was there's just so many factors I think that you could point out where you needed not a perfect game, but you needed everybody to be pretty.
No, you have to have for Mexico to beat Germany. They have to play a perfect game. I mean, they need to have
no choice, or a little bit of luck, and they had neither. They hit the post,
and also the best players on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's what continuity does in and playing together all the time creates a unit.
It's
even
not,
if the team, even if the team
in
isn't
addition to that, though,
talented.
I mean, to me, the biggest problem that Osorio's had since he's been there. Look, he wants to play his 4-3-3, and he loves the way that they attack. But I mean, do you ever hear him actually talk about how we defend? It's attack with that guy. It's like defense is not as important to him.
But they're not even putting up a lot of goals. That's my issue.
But that's Mexico. That's what they do.
So that's why my point is like, I'm kind of like, I don't think this formation suits Mexico. I just don't. I don't think you need. I think they need to be more clinical, and they just don't. They just aren't. I mean, our best players. I mean, I know Raúl was kind of forced into a difficult low percentage shot, because he had to break, change it to his left foot to get a shot off. But I mean, that Chicharito hitting it over, Gio hitting it with his super weak right foot, just man, like you think that I at least I foolishly thought like maybe 8 years ago that these group of guys were different than the previous generation of mediocre forwards that just needed 5 chances just to get 1 goal. But these guys are just as bad, I think. They just happen to be playing for better teams or more high profile teams. But the choke factor is still there, I think.
So maybe our Spanish shrink, maybe he won't get his last check.
I'm thinking that they really need to make a call to Sergio immediately. He cannot be worse.
Well, Sergio is on the chat. Sergio, what kind of what would be a right word that we could use here, Dan, without getting, I don't want
to. Sports psychologist, motivational speaker. I just know that Sergio is familiar with the mind, with the human mind.
He's a mind doctor.
I don't know his title, but he's the only one that I know that's best can probably describe some of the behavior and that we see in these players. Maybe he. Plus, he's so personable, so I think they would like him.
El doctor de la mente.
Yeah.
Sergio. Well, maybe
Sergio el psicólogo.
Let's say, I know John asks the questions, but let's say Osorio quits.
No le voy a discutir con usted.
Oh, I hit the wrong one. Damn it. I mispunched.
I completely would not mind Tuca.
I thought you were going to hit the Chicharito, now it's time to celebrate button.
No, well, we have a new and improved Chicharito.
Somos muy chingones, es la realidad.
And
that would be the best case scenario, Rigo, if you were to quit. Because at least it would. At least it gives the federation, like the green light to just plug somebody in. While I don't have any confidence in anybody in Mexico, I really, really don't.
Really? Not even Buse?
No, I mean, he's got very little time. I guess he does deserve a real crack, but he's not going to get the gig.
Wait, little time? He has a year.
No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that.
I mean, whoever gets it has a year to prepare.
You don't even
prepare for the World Cup.
And you don't have to build a new squad. The whole team is there, man.
I get that, but I'm not convinced that anybody's going to come in and then not try to reinvent the wheel in some kind of way.
I don't.
No, I mean, I think there's very little options in Mexico.
Well, you know what?
And then there's very little options that you can bring in that are not Mexican, that know Mexican players and know Mexican soccer. And that's the biggest thing. And then the other thing is nobody wants to take on this team because of, the federation, the media.
And Vuce got done dirty. He doesn't. He doesn't necessarily want the gig. I think.
But see, the team is qualified. You're basically getting a free ticket to the World Cup.
That is true.
who wants to turn that down, dude? You're basically
No,
saying
that's why I'm in favor of kind of getting rid of him now. You know, like we're in the World Cup already, but like I think most objective observers are going to be able to come to the conclusion that this team has not gotten better. This team is pretty talented. So let's just get somebody that at least is going to at least throw out the most talented players out there, the best ones out there. Because right now,
Aguirre.
I felt cheated
No,
today.
absolutely not.
I felt
Bombero
cheated
Aguirre
today.
You what, Dan?
No, dude,
I
you
felt
gotta give
cheated.
it to a guy, someone like Buse or Tuca
Yeah, they're there.
who are there, and then and then Tuca, I'll tell you, Tuca say, you know what, I'll do it, but up until we have my guy's back, says he's gonna say no moleros until the season's over, till Liga MX is over.
Yeah, but I want to go off of something Dan said about reinventing the wheel, and I think that's where they messed up when they hired.
Welcome, Fantasy Island.
Sorry, Jorge.
I feel that's where they messed up when they hired Osorio, because they could have said, we have this team that is set. They've been together for like 2 World Cup qualifying cycles. For a lot of players, this is their last World Cup. So they're kind of set in their ways, and we just need you to qualify them. And if you told them, well, this is my plan. I'm gonna do rotations, and I'm gonna change the squad, and I'm never gonna play with the same lineup. At that point they should have just said, well, then that's not for us.
I agree with you.
Because that's the other thing you did. Every game is a different lineup.
Do you think it came up in the conversation? Do you think
apparently he did that. Apparently
No.
he did that in his previous team. I never saw him there, but apparently he did that in his previous team.
Yeah,
But
but I
that's
guarantee that it was never
club.
something that was
That's-
really discussed. I guarantee it wasn't something that was really discussed in detail. Because I don't think that they really had a true idea of what they wanted to do. Now, back to Joel's point, I think initially he was right. Like that if you didn't have a full cycle to work with, then maybe you just wanted to get somebody that's going to be familiar, that the players are going to be familiar with and comfortable with, and then just, if you're going to do something new, then start it from the very beginning with young players that could grow into it. I get that. It makes a lot of sense.
Every time you guys say Tuca, I'm not gonna lie, I get a big smile on my face.
I don't think Tuca would ever do it, to be honest.
I think Tuca would do it, and I think he'd retire after he was done. I think that would be Tuca's way to ride into the sunset.
I think he's BSing when he says, like, he does, oh, shucks, I don't want it. I think there's definitely a side of him that.
I bet you there was a call made today.
I think there was more than one.
Yeah.
They have the red telephone. No, I think Tuca has a really good deal right now working at Tigres. Just complete control. And that's one thing that FMF hasn't been. It's a bit of disarray. So I think that's what made him not want to take on the team.
I mean, I think he's comfortable losing finals there.
Yeah, but he, I mean, his deal.
Yeah, his job's not threatened.
Yeah, his deal though, when he took it over the first time, and I remember I was. See again, I was watching TV with my wife, and like it was like at 11 o'clock at night, and then like, hey, this just in, there's some reports saying that that Tuca has contacted the FMF, saying I'm going to do these 3 games for you, and then they had the press conference the next day. It's like and what he said about the FMF, or not just about them, but not at the FMF, about playing in Mexico and coaching in Mexico, and what it meant to him is like, this is my way to help out. I just think that if they call him again, I think he'll go absolutely, but on this condition: no moleros till the season's done, and and then we'll pick it up again in May or June, or whenever it is, after he qualifies, because they have 4 sets of qualifiers, but it's over a course of a week, so it would be just 2 weeks during the season, and then they have 1 fecha FIFA in March, and then that would be it. He would absolutely do that.
Yeah, because he can play those games with the core of 2 teams, or the guys who are playing the best in Mexico without having to call Europeans, and he could probably win and a draw in those games. and then once the season is over, they'll probably give him like a month to train with the team and get him ready for the World Cup. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Tuca would go for that.
Yeah, I mean, which coach wouldn't though?
Right.
And then you could just do what Aguirre did. Just coach up to the World Cup and then leave.
Play Guille Franco and.
So who would be the I mean, outside of Tuca, who I think is a more than 50% chance, would it be Piojo and Vuce? And that would be
it's between Piojo and Almeida, to be honest. Although I don't want it to be Almeida, but it's between both of them.
Almeida's not going to get the gig.
They might not let him, but I mean, he's one of the better coaches in Mexico. I don't want him to leave.
I just think that if they're going to go in that direction, he needs to start from scratch.
From the beginning. Exactly. You're right.
Yeah.
From
give him the gig. Give him the gig.
It took him a while.
One of the guys that had been mentioned earlier had been Turco Mohamed. but I will go.
Listen,
with,
me personally, I would give it to La Volpe again.
Hey,
a lot of people don't like him. But I mean, he
for good reason. He doesn't win.
He never won a second round game outside of Mexico.
Or win a title.
But do you guys remember that?
When's the last
team?
time he's done anything remote?
Hey, so you're more into the style points than results?
For me?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I like watching attractive soccer. I mean, a loss is a loss no matter how you look at it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. A great philosopher once said.
Yeah, I want to win.
But if I'm gonna, I don't want to get embarrassed. I don't want to get embarrassed when I'm being played.
And he's also proven and shown that, like in his last gigs, like the last gigs, that got pretty awesome.
You're breaking up.
Where he?
Yeah, Dan, you're gonna have to.
Dan, you have to repeat that. You broke up.
Sorry, still broken up. Breaking up.
Yeah. Broken up. I'm sure what you said was beautiful. All right, I'm sure what you said was beautiful.
He sounds like Chappie when they're beating him up. I don't know if you guys saw that movie.
No.
So now what?
Well, I don't even know what was Dan.
I think Almeida's off the table.
No, I don't. I mean, I think Almeida would be good from the beginning of the cycle.
But you know why Almeida's off the table for me, John? Because I do think some of the older national players, I should say established national players, have a bit of a say, and they're not familiar with him.
But I mean, I think they've come around. I mean, look at Carlos Salcido, Gallito Vázquez.
No, yeah, but
no,
right now,
about the veterans on the national team.
On the team.
Yeah.
I think the veterans would come around, but I get what you're saying.
No, but I mean, if they ask, like, or they recommend, I just
like,
don't see.
Who would they want?
Yeah.
I mean,
because I mean, some of these guys, they do have a lot of influence within FMF, and they also have a big say on. We side with when they try to punish them.
All right, Joel, you have just fired. You are the president of FMX Food. You have just fired.
You know my answer.
You just fired Juan Carlos Osorio.
He would have never been hired.
Who's well? Yeah.
John, you know that answer from me. It's straight to camion. We jump on the tu camion just because he knows the Mexican player. He's been there for all his life coaching, and
playing.
And this team is at the end of their cycle, and he already showed us what he could do with the team. He's not gonna try to, get cute with the lineups. He goes up, or.
Right, and not only that, but if he screws up, I mean, he just the whole thing about and it drives me crazy with Osorio is it? I mean, I'm going back to Bora. I mean, I think of Bora and Mejia Barón. I mean, all those guys. Yeah, they had decent offensive players, but I mean, their defenses were always solid, and it's the same freaking players, and it's like nothing is getting through. It's like these guys have forgotten how to play, how to defend, and I don't understand why that is. Because I mean, even when they lost with Chepo, I mean, they went down to Brazil. In Brazil, almost in the exact. Remember in that Confed Cup, almost in the exact same. Like 2 goals, boom, boom. In the minuto 15, it was already 2-0. But Chepo made the adjustment, and now, I'm not saying that they're the only lot, but it's just they locked down defensively so much better than Osorio ever could, and that's very frustrating. I think for that you can have the greatest offensive players on the planet and just saying it won't matter if you can't prevent people from scoring.
I mean,
because they're going to prevent you from scoring.
Look at Argentina; they have the same issue, and not as bad as Mexico, but I mean they're great offensively, but they've suffered from bad defenses, which Mexico has always had very strong defenses.
They've had to.
Yeah, because they weren't.
Because that's the only way you can compete against the Germanys and the you have to be. I mean, you think.
Do you think it's the defense that is that bad, John, or is it just the lack of midfield support? I think that's the bigger issue.
Well, I think that there's some of that, but I mean,
combo of both.
I think if you have 4 or 5 midfielders in there, it makes a huge difference.
I think it's the continuity, and I think it's constantly being playing, the left center back, the right center back. To me, I've watched. I remember years ago. This was like a full on January Moleros against Sweden. Sweden basically just throws a bunch of guys on a plane. They fly over. And a total experimental team, and I remember their defense would move back and forth in a line perfectly. Almost the entire game. It was impressive. It's like, man, these guys have been together for 3 days, and then they know to do that. And you just don't see that with they just don't know. They don't seem to know what each other's doing. I saw a lot of pointing. Hey, that should have been your guy.
I mean, I think what Dan says is true, though. Because I mean, the whole not having a defensive midfielder in between the midfield and the defense, it allows a lot of space. So when these guys are taking on these players that are attacking, there's just too much space for them to cover.
Right,
and
they naturally give up a ton of space anyway.
Yeah. So you should be clogging up your midfield or the players in front of the midfield. Play with 2 center defensive midfielders if you notice that you're having this issue. Which the 3-5-2 does, or the 5-3-2, however you want to look at it. But he's not making these tactical adjustments, knowing fair well that teams are entrándole por en medio.
Entrando por todas partes.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, it was
great. Now we have to mark it explicit.
It was. Yeah, it was not good. So is it going to stay then? I mean, what is it going to take for these guys to?
For the FMF?
I mean, are they just going to just ride another one, hope they make it out of the group stage in Russia, and then just pray that they don't they only lose 2-0?
I think they fire him if they can't make it out of the group stage in the Gold Cup.
Okay, so that's really a real good spot for me to segue here, because I did go to the game yesterday in Houston. It was Mexico against Ghana, and for the first 20-30 minutes, I thought Mexico played pretty well as far as linking themselves up. They did a good job with that. Again, the defense was a little shaky, but I don't think the best defenders are on the pitch. And then I went to the press conference And this was with Luis Pompilio Paez, who's the acting coach for the Gold Cup, and he was there 15 minutes, and he was asked 3 questions, and he spoke for about 5 minutes for each question, and he was basically just vomiting information. And it was very interesting. And one of the things that he said was, and maybe this has been said before, is that he says we're going to go with the guys who are, who have the most, who are the most influential on what we're trying to do. And I started thinking, so is it basically just on like who had a good practice? Is that how they make their decisions?
And is what they're trying to do nullify everything the other team does, or what they're trying to do implement?
Well, he didn't
elaborate.
Discuss that. No, he didn't elaborate. But the other thing that I thought was very interesting, that I thought would, like, who would ever have the stones to say? And then he was talking about in the group stage, we're going to probably play the first 2 games with our whatever probably the same guys, and then after we've qualified for the next round, we'll play the 3rd game, and then that's where we'll have our rotaciones of players.
He said that.
He said that twice.
That's very boisterous of him. That's the word. I don't know if that's the proper word, but
well, there was definitely
confident. Very
braggadocio. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I mean, it's like, hey, buddy, let's.
Considering if you're a team that's playing against Mexico, and you saw what Ghana did in those first 25 minutes, you know that you can beat them with speed up the wings, because those fullback they had playing were just struggling.
I don't think El Salvador is going to have guys as fast as Ghana.
No, of course not. But Curacao.
I think Ghana's going to be that
Jamaica
tougher than anybody they're going to see.
You're probably now. I did ask the Ghanaian coach and a question, because Ghana, I don't know if you guys looked at that. I don't know if this is maybe one of your hobbies, but I like African soccer. But I was angry at myself yesterday. I was talking to John Arlen, and I haven't seen how the standings are. And Ghana is actually, they are in a group of 4 teams. So if the winner makes the World Cup, and so they play 6 games, and the first 2 games they only have 1 point, so they're down 5 points to Egypt. So Ghana making the World Cup right now, I think, is very iffy. So this is a coach who only been his second game. This wasn't a FIFA date, so you couldn't really bring his best players.
Hasn't Ghana already surpassed Egypt as far as like the historical best team in Africa?
I know that they've come close. I can't remember if their last African Nations title did that for them. But so the Africa's qualifying is insane. There's one group that had Cameroon, Algeria, and then the current champion Zambia. I mean, and another team that made the World Cup last, at least either 2010 or 2014. That's one group in Africa. That's insane. That is some serious qualifying. And so they're stuck, and he was just frustrated that he didn't get a chance to. He's like, I got this game, these games in September, and I don't really have a chance to prepare because the clubs didn't release my players because this wasn't a FIFA date. So he was just pulling his hair out. And then apparently one of the not that I want to be a chismoso, and I'm glad that Ron is on for this. But the Ghanaian coach said that was it Baldomero? Is that the name of the ref? Baldomero Toledo, is that him? Who was a quote unquote American, but he was born in Mexico. Apparently he dropped an F-bomb.
Was it Marufo?
No. It was Baldomero Toledo. Apparently he dropped an F-bomb toward one of the Ghanaian players. So and the coach and the
You sure it wasn't Fuchi? Like
no,
Fuchi
the Ghanaian coach was rather taking. He thought it was a little unprofessional. So I was just wondering, Ron, if you thought that he should be given a ban for being a chismoso.
Yes. Three for three. Actually, three of them.
A 3-game ban. So that's a 3-game ban for being a chismoso about that.
I concur wholeheartedly with Carlos Albert.
Do you think that a referee might have used the F word toward a player in other instances, in other games?
Look, keep in mind that vulgarities. I'm not excusing it, but in certain countries and certain, some people just throw them, a lot more loosely, than others.
What could have happened is that maybe if they were giving him crap, maybe he just would have just ripped into him.
You cool.
I'm out.
I'm out.
That's I could picture that,
Because when you sit there and he's talking to the guys and you see him pointing at the players, that's what he was saying.
John, sorry to jump in late, but so is everybody on the Fuera Osorio train, or is Dan still in?
He has been fired, and Tuca is now the national team coach.
No.
Yeah, we're all on the Tuca. We're all on the Tuca train.
Okay.
The Tu Camión.
That's right.
Tu Camión. So Dan is even also on the Tu Camión?
Dan is on the Tuca train.
Oh. Well, but was he on the Tuca train at 3 or was it 4? Because that's important.
I think he said 4.
Sorry, I'm
I think Dan said 4.
Dan's
scrambling for the unmute button.
Dan's floor was 4. Dan's floor was 4.
Yeah, he said 4.
No, I'm okay with. I did not say I was pro Tuca.
I think you did, Dan. I think that you actually you said that you don't have the faith in anybody, period. So you might as well just let Jackie Bracamontes coach the team at this point.
You guys are gonna laugh at me when I say this, but I honestly think that perhaps I'm convinced now, dude, that
he has to stay.
For Mexico to make it to that next step, I think they're gonna have to hire an American coach. Because here's the problem. Here's the problem.
Bruce Arena.
Yeah, someone like that. Someone like that, because maintain order and discipline and go for effective. I don't care about ball possession anymore, man. Like I told you this, it's not about playing pretty anymore. It's you can still play effective and still be it can still be entertainment. But
I will say. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I will say this: USA would not have lost 4-1 today.
No, they wouldn't.
Not with Bruce Arena, probably not.
No, and one of the problems that I've noticed, and this goes back to like even Menotti back in the early '90s, it's like it seems like every time we get a coach, whether it be European or be it South American, it's like they come and like they. And I don't mean that. I don't think they're being, malicious in it. But I think it's like, okay, I'm the teacher. You guys are like right here, and it's like, how dare you question me, And it's like, I think that it's time to change, and I'm talking change from the youth systems all the way up. And I think we need to go with a more style that plays more on effective, pragmatic, rather than just ball possession and stuff like that.
Ron, are you saying do you not like watching the center backs and the wing backs pass it around for about 20-30 seconds and then give it away?
I just like three chances, 2 scores on Germany like in the first half.
In the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, geez, come on.
You know what? I thought, at the start of this tournament, I thought Osorio had kind of got it together. Because if you look against Portugal, he comes out and he completely changes the tactic. We are going to pressure Portugal really high and get them to make mistakes. And I thought that was effective. And then, we come down 3 games later, 4 games later, whatever it is, we're back to the same old tactics. And it's just, I think, not that these guys, not that playing possession ball isn't effective for Mexico. I think it's knowing when to play possession ball that is something that needs to be adapted. So having a coach that can make those adjustments based on who your opponent is, not just make the player adjustments, but make the tactical adjustments.
I think the one area that a lot of fans of Mexico have a problem understanding is that possession of the ball and control of the game are not related as much as they think they are. Mexico had, what do we say, 62% of possession.
Yes.
But they at no moment, regardless, even when it was 0-0, did anybody think that Mexico was in control of that game? I mean, the Germans controlled that game from the first 30 seconds. They're the ones that set the pace.
What was the term? False possession or
yeah.
Forgot the term in Spanish.
And it's like, Beto with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the guy could be like on his back, defensively, but he's going to control you. And it's like but here's the thing, and I think
you mean you could be a power bottom?
Oh, Beto, that's true. No,
Beto's not here.
Beto's not here. Beto's not here. Anyhow, but it's like one of the things that gets me. Good music, by the way. You got to touch. Come on! You got to play that now, man. Come on.
Yeah, it's true.
I play the other version for Hood. So Joel, explain this to me. Which one came first?
Which song?
No. Which version? So when
the Transformers movie.
Right.
That was in '85.
Yeah, like in '85 they did the song for the Transformers movie that's when they fight Unicron.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know.
See, I had no idea. I thought that someone had just written that song for Boogie Nights.
No, there's even a video. You could YouTube it.
Dude, what do you think I'm playing?
Oh.
Don't you hear the Transformers there doing all the Transformers stuff?
And that's the Boogie Nights version.
Touch. You got the power.
Have you guys ever seen when Marky Mark came out on a Jimmy Kimmel show, and when he walked out, they were playing that song. The band was playing that song, so he went over and sang the song. Badly, he sang the song badly, like Dirk Diggler. It was great,
which is impressive because he can actually sing.
Oh yeah, exactly.
But not to digress, but going back to what we were talking about, I think that and not just Osorio, but I think just a lot of coaches do this, and a lot of programs do that. It's like when Barcelona, with Frank Rijkaard and then Pep Guardiola, they were doing the tiki taka and stuff like that, and a lot of teams and a lot of programs would try to emulate what they were doing. And one of the things that kind of always bothered me was like, are you going to change your style to resemble that just because they found success doing that? Or because you either have to do it all the way or not just half-assed. You just can't go and play a certain way because other teams are finding success that way. It's either you believe in it or you don't. And I just don't think that we've been playing. I think we've been fooling ourselves for the past 15 years. In terms of how we set up against teams that are better than us. I think in the past, the coaches that have coached have always gone out and said, well, I don't care what the other team does. We're going to do what we do best. Sure.
And I think in this particular instance, our coach has said, I do care what the other team does. We're going to try and stop what they do best.
But I think he worries too much about what the other team does, though.
He does. And it's not effective. I think this team right now is built to counterattack.
Wait,
it's built. I don't want to blame, and it's funny because Dan is probably going to be surprised. I don't put all the blame on Osorio on this, but I never put all the blame on Osorio. Granted, I know that he is just the people that are people just are mad at him right now. And granted, he's messed up in so many ways. But I think we'd be fooling ourselves. Okay, if Piojo comes back, or Matias, or Almeida goes in there, or even Tuca goes in there. I don't think that Mexico. I think Mexico at the most can get to the quarterfinals. I think we have to really change. From basically from the U13s all the way up.
But Ron, there's not the problem that we lost. Is how we lost.
I know. I know it's like how we lost. Not finding a team or a base team, all the rotaciones and stuff like that. We can beat that dead horse all day long, but also, let's not. We can't pretend that this is only because of Osorio.
No, I mean I think that in order for Mexico to take that next step, then there needs to be a plan in place. There needs to be, from the youth systems all the way up to the senior team
and the league.
The team should be
reduced.
And the league. The team should be playing the same style all the way through. Same. I mean, the thing is, we never allow a coach to, complete a full cycle. So that's one thing that has to happen. But then you have to find the right coach who's going to do that. And you're right, and the league. If you look at the base of Spain, it was Real Madrid and Barcelona. And those, I mean, granted, it's different in those leagues because those are top leagues in the world and those are the top teams in the world.
Dude, the base of Spain was Barcelona and Barcelona.
Real Madrid.
No,
in Real Madrid.
There was 8 Barcelona guys and maybe a couple of Real Madrid guys.
Well, I mean, you had Xavi Alonso, you had Sergio Ramos.
Barcelona.
Right.
And your list ends there.
But you look at Germany, the base is Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Italy, when they won, they had the Juventus was basically the majority of the players.
Ronnie,
Mexico has a European counterpart. It's England. Because we have the same issue with our domestic league. They
don't play together.
We have too many foreigners playing in it.
But the English players themselves, if they're not going to play, then they should start playing over in Europe.
They should.
But the problem is that their league pays them
very well. Same thing happens in Mexico.
Chinkles.
Hey, John, I didn't keep up with the news and stuff like that. So it has the FMF president and
they fired him. Tuca's the coach. Dude.
What? I gotta check Twitter, dude.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. No, dude. Apparently, and I didn't see it, but apparently Memo Cantu said, "Hey, we didn't lose that bad. We improved our goal against ratio."
Dude,
the guys didn't give up.
Dude, this guy's got a hell of a damn agent, Osorio. I'm telling you, dude. Like other better coaches have been fired for less.
They just they don't want to be those guys. They don't want to be the guys that
I think the FMF has gotten so much heat in the past for not allowing a process to see its completion all the way through, that this time they're going to do the complete opposite of what everybody's
thinking. To me, the FMF hosed themselves the minute they fired Piojo.
La Volpe.
No, okay. Piojo. They didn't need to fire Piojo over what happened.
They didn't. But also Piojo had a really bad Gold Cup.
And yet they still won.
I think
you would fire him over that, winning it. And
no.
Because he played
no. But I think coupled with what he did is why he went out.
There's no question, but it should have never have come to that.
No, I think it was not the bad Gold Cup. It was the tweeting about the Green Party, coupled with the Falcon Punch. I think that.
He made a series of which we knew he would. But I mean, it's obvious that he. Not that obvious, but I think I even said this way back when that it wouldn't surprise me at all if Piojo ends up coaching the World Cup anyway.
I could see that. I could see him coaching. I could see him. He's vying for the job. He's on an ABC right now.
It's his dream job. It's what he wants to do.
But then why would America?
It is the pinnacle of his mind. It is the pinnacle of what he wants to.
Why would America bring him back though? If they're just
going
to let him go.
America coaches are interchangeable. They'll just go get another coach. America, Ronnie, when was the last time America showed real loyalty to a coach? Like a guy that was there for more than, and I'm going to say 3 years.
Nacho Ambriz? No. Luis Fernando Tena? His brother?
No.
Alfredo?
See, it probably wasn't like maybe like Ben Hacker or somebody like that. It's probably been.
Nah, man, not even Ben Hacker.
But anyway, yeah. So the coach is interchangeable for them. But I mean, I do think if anything, there is a change. It'll be between Piojo and Tuca.
Piojo only wants to coach 2 places, and that's America and the national team.
Right. It's what he wants. It is in his mind. It is the pinnacle of his career. He could be there for coaches, a couple of cycles.
Coaches that have raised their hand for the job. Hugo Sanchez obviously is one. Piojo is another one. Matias Almeida is another one. And another one is even Cardoso. Pepe Cardoso is another one that have kind of raised their hand, saying that, hey, I want to coach the Mexicans.
That should be the last guy raising his hand.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying he's. I can't think of other coaches in the Liga MX that have raised their hand.
Well, they're all on vacation right now.
So I don't know, man. I just this loss just really sucked.
Well, I mean, you look at what's happened over the past, in this century. You see Mexico have success at a certain level. You just think that it's going to finally carry on over to the national team, and it just, it doesn't, and it hasn't for 10 years. And I totally understand the frustration.
I just don't expect Mexico to lose that bad. Like, it's one thing to lose, but it's embarrassing to go down 2-0 because you see a team just like a fish out of water, like floundering, just flapping around out there.
I still think the teams that were still predominantly from the Liga MX, and I still think that they were better and with more character. I just from how we play Copa Americas to we need to go back to start playing Copa Libertadores.
I got a question for you, Ron.
Yeah. You
can answer as honestly as you like. What do you think the percentage of the European players that we have right now of the guys that have a pair of man capris in their wardrobe?
Obviously they're very, very talented, Ben. But I don't know, man. Just how many are you asking? Like how many wear capri pants?
Yeah,
that's something for Beto. That Beto would know that.
Oh, that's right. That'd be more of a Beto question. Well, Beto needs to hop on. He needs to hook up the telephone line, but he said that, but that hasn't quite.
He's hacking right now. Someone's internet.
Quite happened yet. Yeah, I told him that. He's like, yeah, my security is very lax here at the house. He's okay.
Did
probably start getting notes on my computer. Oh, by the way,
did you and Beto see each other yesterday at the game?
We drove down and then came back.
Oh.
Yeah, did you not know that it was a together trip?
I saw
did
that. You got a better spread than he did.
I did get a better spread.
Did you guys stop at a rest stop?
Well, who
spread you out?
He made the rookie mistake of wearing his photographer's smock up in the press box. So they immediately said, "You need to get out of here."
I knew Ellis. They told him I knew Ellis.
That's right. So he had to go eat his prison sandwich downstairs.
That's Rigo. That's what we call a spread. So like when we go to stadiums and stuff, like we always we brag to each other. We always like take photos of what what they serve.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
when I went to when I did Estadio Chivas, they gave me a nice hot dog,
Yeah, no,
lemon
this
cookies.
Joel, this was 1,000 times better than what they served at the
Mira, I'm interested, Enrico.
at LA Coliseum.
Te give you a hot dog sin pan
No, pues.
para que raspe.
You still want to show me your cucumber?
Me agarras desprevenido.
John, I did enjoy our kids' meal though.
So it was hot dogs, and what was the other thing?
Mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese. Well, there was mac and cheese at the yesterday.
And chicken tendies.
Although chicken tendies, I forgot about that.
Yes, it was a straight kids meal. I
Where was this?
At the LA Coliseum.
Hey, Joel, did you like the food at the World Cup Stadium Media Centers back in the day?
I didn't get to eat, man. Weren't they like charging or something? They had like a sandwich. So I never really ate there because they had like Coke for $5 and like a little sandwich.
They had meals, but the one in South Africa, dude, that was the bomb.
At the press box.
No, well, yeah, at the Stadium Media Centers and the press boxes, but the food in South Africa was actually very, very good.
You got in touch with your Ubuntu side.
So yeah, it was actually it was really, really good.
But we went down. Now Beto was our photographer, and he actually took some really. I looked at him today. He had some really nice pictures. You know, that's the great thing about digital cameras is it. You know, I mean, he took like 400 pictures.
Yeah.
And about I'd say about a good 20 of them are more than decent or are very usable. And that's pretty impressive for a guy who doesn't do it for a living.
Yeah.
So we'll be pirating those for. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. Well, we'll be watermarking them.
Yeah, I need to get the logo from. I need to get the new logo so I can start watermarking the photos.
Yeah. So, but it was.
I need to watermark all my photos from like to the 2006 and also from 2010, and all like the Gold Cups and stuff like that.
I figured out a really cool way to do it in Photoshop today. I was blown away by how easy it was.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah. No, it's like there's like it's to just make the logo a brush stroke and just like click it. There it is. It's done.
Yep.
It's very cool. I did not know that you could do that. So that was very very groovy. But anyway, I digress. It was but the NRG Stadium is an indoor stadium in Houston, so it was nice and air conditioned and comfy, and even down on the field, the crowd was. They said 37,000, which is a good number, but it was about a little less than half capacity at the place. But the fans loved it, and they got to yell their puto without any problems. Because it was just friendly, so they could yell puto. I wonder if is that going to be a problem at the Gold Cup?
But here's the thing: at that point, the puto shouldn't fall on the FMF. It should fall on the USSF because they're the ones organizing this.
Right.
Because I doubt that Mexicans from Mexico, at the most 20, if that, would make the flight from Mexico to go watch a Molero.
You think it's that high?
Probably not.
Right.
Other than the press that live in Mexico, I mean, to me at this point, it's like if you're gonna find anybody for the chant for the games played in the U.S., I think you have to blame the host country for that. But so like,
well, Ronnie, you want to bring in an American coach? Maybe they should, just start playing, all their games up in the U.S.
I just think they should just get a coach that's a little bit more practical. I like Tuca. Tuca's a practical guy.
It's very pragmatic.
Yep.
You know, and as Alberto Garcia Aspa said in that final, he said, "Man, he said it's gonna, it's gonna get really awful, when we play this game. But regardless of what happens, he said, just maintain discipline and order." He said that just blew him away that he would tell him in the final. So yeah, that's what Tuca's all about. It's like, Tuca would never let spaces like that happen. He just wouldn't do it. He wouldn't play those guys if they're not gonna do what they have to do.
Did I was actually, when I was thinking about the game, did Jose Ramon and Faitelson, have they gone on their tirades?
Oh, you know
Yes.
what? I'm sure that they've were thrilled to pieces.
Were they trolling Jorge Ramos?
Jorge Ramos was trolling them.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Ramos was, apparently, like during the week, Ramos was a little perturbed, I should say, because at Faitelson and Jose Ramon, because they didn't give Mexico a chance.
Well, they were Jose Ramon, and during the week earlier, like they were calling like Portugal a potencia mundial, and then Jorge Ramos was like, "No, that's not a potencia mundial. What are you guys talking about?" And then they kind of during the week they kind of all turned, where it turned to like today. Jorge Ramos was like, "You guys need to get rid of this coach," and Faitelson was like, "Well, like we can't be ending processes like this early all the time. Like, maybe it was the players, maybe it's not the coach, maybe we're not as good as we think we are." And that's what it turned into.
I got a tweet. I wasn't able to check it, but apparently Bam Zamorano was pretty harsh on the team.
I don't really watch the Univision guys.
Oh, okay.
That's the only channel I watch. I can't watch the ESPN anymore, which all
I watch is Football Picante.
You poor man.
I miss Carlos Alberto, to be
My
honest.
advice to you is to start drinking heavily.
Yeah, I mean, how can you? If that's the only thing you watch, that's just rough. I mean, that's like, oof.
I'm telling you, I miss Carlos Alberto. He's on Fox now. I don't really like Fox.
He's not on Fox either. He's on he's like on some pirate, like an internet only thing. He's like the Alex Jones.
Alex Jones of
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I catch them all on YouTube after the game. I try to watch the Fox Sports. What's it called? Última Palabra.
Yeah. See, but that's I mean, how can these guys? And see what I'll say is that they can, they're happy with Mexico losing because they were right. I was right about this, so y'all have to. And I'm still thinking, is that really where we are now? That's more important to you than the result of your national team?
Yeah.
Or has it always been like that? And not just Mexico, but in all the, in every country's sporting press.
No, because I've seen other countries where they're quarterfinalists or semifinalists, and when they go back to the countries, there's a parade. That the team played well and stuff like that. I don't. It's
got to be a real small country, though. That's Ronnie, not happening in. That's Ronnie, not happening in London.
Do you want a parade, Ron? You want to go to a parade, Ron?
Nah, hell no.
Yeah, you don't want to dress as a mummer.
A parade for making it to the World Cup is participation trophies for everybody. That's.
So, how much of it was the players today? Then, if I mean, is this the cold reality that we're facing, that the players are not as good as we thought they were?
Well, obviously the first two goals were defensive errors, and and granted, there's a certain amount of blame that goes to the players for that, but from a tactical game plan, and I've never been convinced of Osorio as a master tactician or even I think he's a guy that's a little maybe too smart for himself, that doesn't really know how to put in practice what he theorizes, whatever he watched from the window into the Liverpool training camp, whatever.
He's an overthinker.
I think so. I think he's an overthinker. I don't think he's a very practical coach. I've never, I don't really care about what he's done in the World Cup qualifiers, and like people can say, well, I mean, he's got them in first place and blah 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 blah. I said, you know what? Mexico, yes, Mexico has struggled before in World Cup qualifiers, but Jesus Christ, dude, we've been to 14, 15 World Cups. That's not an accomplishment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and neither's one in the Gold Cup, frankly.
Well, I mean, it's only worth to go to the Confederations Cup, really, if you ask me.
Well, what I'm saying is that it's, winning the Gold Cup is.
It's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
No,
it's just a thing that happened. I mean, and I say that for the U.S. too, and it's not a big deal. It should be a big deal for the U.S.
For me, what mattered to me was World Cup first, Copa America second, and in the last 10 years, or a little less than 10 years, they've really started to disrespect the South American tournaments, the tournaments that they worked so hard to get into. Did you guys, by the way, stop off at Rita's?
I mentioned to Chiquis if he wanted to go to Rita's, but he, it was pretty late at night. It was like 11:30 when we left. And
the ice place?
What's that? No, not Rita's Ice. Rita's Ice.
It's Central American Sports Bar.
Yeah. Back at Rigo, this is back in Houston. Back before cable television had every single Mexican league game. The ones we had to go to like hole in the wall type bars,
like an honest to goodness satellite, not a direct TV dish.
I remember Copa America '93 watching it in a bar. It was closed circuit.
Right.
So like for example, I was like 7.
So before Copa Libertadores was on Fox Sports, it was on pay-per-view, closed satellite, and you had to go to hole in the walls, and believe it or not every market in the United States had access to it. So like back in Houston, there was only I think 2 bars where you could go and you could watch PSN, you could watch the Copa Libertadores. So like I remember watching them in '98. I remember watching it in 2000. And the thing is, like, those games to me were just fantastic, and they were just so much fun to watch. The Copa Libertadores and obviously the Copas Americas. I just wish that we would take those a little bit more seriously, So
I mean, I think part of it also is South America is kind of. I think there was a benefit for both the Mexican League and for the CONMEBOL to have this partnership. Financially, for the CONMEBOL, there's a lot of money that Mexico draws in. And I think they kind of, overlook that. What the draw that Mexico has.
CONMEBOL has they got a prettier girl they're looking at right now.
Well, so the thing is, everybody's now so fixated on Europe and stuff like that, and our players.
No, I'm not talking about Europe.
Yeah.
Although they are going to bring in, what was it, Spain and Italy for the next Copa America?
I think 3 Latin teams, right? Or 4 Latin teams, Latin European, I should say. I think they're going to be Italy, Portugal, and Spain. I think.
And France.
France. I think it's going to be the 4 Latin European teams.
That is awesome.
Who's the prettier girl looking at? As far as Libertadores.
I was more CONMEBOL as far as starting to play the Copa America in the U.S. more.
Oh yeah.
See, one of the things, and Hoyle will remember, but one of the things that playing in the Libertadores would do is they would always stack the odds against Mexican teams.
Right.
They would always pull something either for administratively or even,
Guys, we ran out of cleats. You're gonna have to play the game with 10 men.
So they always try to screw over Mexico. But the thing about it, those type of things actually, they toughened up those Mexican teams. Like, going to La Monumental and beating La Monumental, or playing River Plate and beating them over there, or Boca Juniors, or like, a couple days ago.
What team did that?
America beat River in La Monumental. Chivas did eliminate Boca, but didn't beat them in Boca. They tied after beating them 4-0. That was a really good game. Even as an Americanista, that was a really good game to watch.
Do you have that eagle screeching?
Oh, absolutely. No, but that's one of the more eloquent.
I thought it was called
praises.
for. I mean, beating Boca and Boca is.
Well, it's because my hands were. Yeah, absolutely. My hands were full. So I was busy doing something else. You caught me, Joel. You caught me.
Like, I was watching a replay of Pachuca in 2006, couple weeks ago. They were replaying it.
The Sudamericana.
Yeah, like when Pachuca beat Colo in Santiago, dude.
Chaco was on that team, wasn't it?
Yeah, dude. And like, who was it? Borgi was the coach for Colo. You had what's the name? Suazo in playing for Colo before he went to Monterrey. I mean, Colo had a stacked squad, dude. And the stadium was just going nuts.
And Ron, as Mexico fans, we make a bigger deal of not being able to yell puto than not being able to play Libertadores, man.
Yeah,
I thought there was gonna be fan outrage, but it was like,
But again, it's because these kids, man, take the Libertadores for granted. They didn't have to go into these questionable locations,
right?
Like Rita's.
The very first.
I mean, so I'm like what, like 10 years younger than you guys?
What's that?
I'm like,
you're
10 years younger.
Give or take, yes.
What year were you born, Rico?
Like 84.
84. It's a good year. America won in 84.
What I was gonna say is, I remember growing up, like, and you're right, like, for it probably wasn't maybe till the late 90s, early 2000s, when you started getting all the Liga MX games. You started getting the Libertadores on Fox Sports.
That happened. That happened in 2004. But before that, dude, you had to go.
Yeah, I remember. I remember listening.
There was no guarantee you would walk out there,
with all your fingers.
Exactly, dude.
Or your teeth.
I remember listening to games on the radio.
Yeah.
It was the only way. It was the only way you could listen to a Libertadores game.
You probably heard of us back then, Rigo. You probably heard Joel and me back on the radio, because we used to call Radio Única. And,
I used to listen to Radio Única all the time.
we used to send them. You could email them like questions, but we would put our names would be like Mohamed Lavarra and stuff like that. And they would.
That's when Jorge Ramos was on Radio Única, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was the main dude there.
With Mayorga and Pereira.
And yeah.
Yeah, but speaking of radio, the one goal I heard on the radio that I never really got to see was Luis Matador Hernandez goal with Boca Juniors. And I don't know if it was Copa Mercosur. And he scored a goal off a Maradona pass. That would have been nice to see, man.
How
did Luis do in Boca? Did he play out? Did he do well there?
He didn't do well.
No, it's not that he didn't do well. Boca already had all the foreigners that you could register. They had all the Colombianos, and this was a deal through TV because Televisa was trying to get. I think they were trying to get the Argentine league. They were trying to get some tournament, and so they sent Luis, and they could only play him like on the cup games. But he had a few goals. He was playing better than Palermo. Palermo was he was a young guy right at that point, just coming out.
Who was the Italian striker, mid '90s? It looked like he was like 55 years old.
Caniggia?
No.
No, that's Argentine.
Yeah,
Toto Schillaci.
Ravanelli.
Oh, yeah, he had the gray hair. Yeah,
He had the gray hair.
yeah, he was at Juventus, Ravanelli.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Because I remember they would always show because that was like you always get the Serie A because that was the best league in the world at the time.
It was, yeah.
And so you get the Sunday highlights of and he, I mean, like almost every week he was scoring a goal. But I don't know if he ever made it to the national team.
Oh, so the point I was going to get at was that so growing up, like you only had like a limited amount of leagues to watch, and Serie A was the most popular one that you would get from Europe, or the only one you would get.
Dude, try only one game, dude, on Sunday.
That was tape delayed.
Okay, well now kids have the Champions League, Europa League, all the European leagues. Liga MX. Like I know Mexican kids that don't even watch Liga MX. And I'm like, how do you not watch Liga MX?
But that's here. That's here in this country. Right?
That's what I'm saying is like that's why Libertadores wasn't when Juan said that people didn't care about Libertadores because you have all this other soccer to watch. Well, and you have all this other world. I'm pretty sure
soccer. That if Libertadores was on Televisa or on TV Azteca, instead of being on Fox Sports, then I think it would have been.
But here's the thing where you go, Libertadores does not compete with the Champions League because you're gonna watch Libertadores at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock Mexico time.
At night. Yeah.
I think it's just with the Mexican, the Mexican League executives just not placing more value into tournaments that Mexicans before fought tooth and nail to get into those tournaments.
I also think South America undervalues Mexico as an asset.
No, I think
that's part of the issue.
I think they used to, not anymore.
Not anymore. They actually want Mexico. In fact, they want Mexico to take it more serious.
They lost a lot of sponsorships because.
That's what I mean. I think before they lost all those sponsorships, they undervalued Mexico.
They knew, man. They knew since Santander. Ron knows the story of Banco Santander.
Yeah, but Santander was basically the one of their VPs said straight up, he goes that the only reason that they actually became sponsors for the Libertadores,
the main sponsor,
was because of the Mexican market, both in Mexico and in the U.S. So, and they're the ones that pushed for three teams. So 2 directly, and then the third one would have to play in the early phase, So they're the ones that actually told Conmebol. I said I want Mexico with at least 2 direct tickets and a third one, in there.
Yeah, and after and that's because the Mexican teams were threatening to pull out.
Yeah,
so he said, "Hey, they better not leave."
They said you can have one team, but you have to win the playoff against the Venezuelan team. That was the initial foray, which was.
Yeah,
I mean,
but that was a deal that was struck by a promoter, not the actual federation. It was I forget his name, Aguirre.
Eduardo Aguirre.
Yeah, he was the promoter that basically went to CONMEBOL or actually the Venezuelan FA and said, "Look, hey, let me. I'll give you guys $1 million every year. Let's just do a playoff."
He went to Bolivia, Peru, and Venezuela, and Venezuela took the deal, man, and they actually did reinvest in their league and in their national.
Well, if you think about it, what they made was more than the cup, the prize money, because they got their money regardless. They got their money regardless, and back in those days, that's I used to go watch the Copa.
The Sears.
Yeah,
Sears.
Copa Pre-Sears. No, the Copa Pre-Sears. I used to watch those games, dude, because that's how they used to qualify.
Man, yeah, we've come a long way. After the Centenario, the president of CONMEBOL, he was pushing for for a Libertadores with Mexican teams and even MLS teams, but they definitely want to come into the U.S. market, and they know that Mexico is the key for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they should just eliminate the Gold Cup and make one Copa America.
That ain't never going to happen.
I know, but that's what I mean. That's what I think should happen, but it's never going to happen because too much of a crash grab.
Wait! It might, because they're gonna do the league. They have a league tournament where they're gonna put all the CONCACAF teams into groups, and they're gonna play round robin, and that's gonna be like a cup.
That's right. So that means that Mexico is going to have even less of an opportunity to play against top teams.
I know, but if they do that, then we could just do the combined cup.
I mean, I think that benefits the U.S. more than it does Mexico, as far as development.
All right, boys. So let's wrap this up here with with your crystal ball, your realistic theory, and then your, I don't know if you want to call it a dream theory or another like your conspiracy theory. But so what's going to happen between now and the World Cup? Is it it's going to be Osorio all the way, and then they stumble into the World Cup, have a decent group, qualify, draw France. Say, I mean, is France gonna tune them up 3-4-0 too, and then they crash out, and that'll be that.
I mean, I don't think Osorio is going anywhere, unfortunately. And they're going to the World Cup. They already made it. I don't see them winning the fourth game. Not with Osorio. They might squeak out of the groups, and then once they get to, I mean, it really depends on who their group is. If they get a group of death, they might not make it out. If it's a relatively easy group, they may make it out. But then once they make it to the elimination rounds, they don't make it past the round of 16.
All right. So what's your crazy theory? Yeah.
Ideally, he leaves after Saturday.
So it's his partido de despedida.
Yeah. Well, he after the game, he gets to the podium. He says, "You know what? you guys don't deserve me, so I'm gonna leave."
Mic drop.
And he rides off into the sunset with the fourth place finish in Confederations. And I don't know who we bring in. We bring in somebody else. Take over. Maybe it's Ricardo Lavolpe. Maybe it's Ricardo Ferretti. I don't know. But I'll take anybody at this point.
So you just want a warm body up there?
Yeah.
See, I don't think we'd be having this problem if they would have just done what Ron had asked them when they were looking for a coach and hired Don Ramon from El Chanfle. He would have been perfect. By the way, Joel, you desecrated the memory of Don Ramon today.
Wait, what? How did I do that?
Instant feces
with your picture. Yeah, come on, dude. Don Ramon would never have to resort to.
I don't think that was me.
Artificial means. So he's a pro's pro. Let's not kid ourselves. But anyway, well, Joel, what's going to happen, and then what would you wish would happen, or what crazy theory you think might happen? Your choice.
Well, if I know the FMF, they already fielded some calls the wheels are in motion for bringing in maybe Tuca just for the World Cup. Because I think that's the ideal to get a coach just to finish the cycle. And since I think we're all agree that there isn't a coach right now that we could see for long term. So then see who they could get to start the cycle.
Okay.
So I mean, I think that at that point you have Tuca or La Volpe that would be willing to just, do that one last hurrah, and then hand over the keys.
You really think La Volpe's in the mix?
Yes, I think his stint at America raised his profile because he was looking pretty bad with the podologa and then just bouncing around. And I think at America, a lot of people were just liking him again.
Keep missing my chances. All right. So no, is that your realistic assessment then? Is that how you see it playing out? Or is
Yes,
that
sir.
so okay? So what's your ideal then? What's
Man, that Osorio gets sacked effective immediately.
yeah? So don't even coach the third place game.
Oh, I mean, after the tournament, I forgot about that game.
Let Rafa coach it.
Yeah, you could. I bet he'd do a good job.
I bet he would too.
But I mean, and you kind of saw when Mexico was losing. Osorio gives Rafa that look. Hey, do you want to come in?
And he had those headers when I was like, damn, is he really about to score right now?
He had a great header. Good save too by Ter Stegen.
Yeah, no. I mean, but finish the cycle because for a lot of players is their last. This is pretty much their last World Cup. The Guardados, the Rafas. The majority of those guys, Peralta. Um, so they're gonna retire after that soon. but then we will be seeing a bit of a transition for the next cycle, and that's a good chance to bring in a new coach and let them try something new.
Sergio says that Osorio will not get sacked. So thank you for the input there, Sergio, for your 2 cents. Ronnie, what's your
I have to agree. I have to agree with Joel. I think that Osorio does get sacked, and I think that I don't think that any coach right now would want to take the team other than the usual suspects, like the guys that are probably on the way out of coaching, be it La Volpe, be it Tuca Ferretti.
Is Bora available, or is he still coaching?
Nah, he's out of the mix, and one of the Joel said something key here, in my opinion, that for many of these players, that this is their last World Cup, and I would have to say that this may be the last World Cup for even Giovanni Dos Santos and even Carlos Vela,
in
Chicharito. And one of the things that always kind of bothered me was that when Hugo Sanchez took the team, he took the team when the team was in transition, meaning the veterans were like, you didn't really have the Cuauhtemocs really in their prime. You didn't have the Borghettis in their prime. You didn't have Oswaldo Sanchez in his prime. You didn't have, those
they
type
were
of
in
players.
they were in the sunset of their careers.
Exactly. So like Giovanni Dos Santos, yes, he had talent, but he was really young, inexperienced. He was, screwing up in Tottenham, getting drunk and stuff like that. So it's going to be for the next coach, after Russia, they're going to have a tough time,
It's not going to be sunshines and rainbows. You're going to have a team that's in transition, and this is why really I'm really pissed off. Perhaps more so at the Mexican Federation, but and to an extent, obviously Osorio.
It's time for Ronnie's rant.
Because this could have been this could have been one of Mexico's best teams because the talent. They have so much talent. They really do. And I think they just they're pissing it away with this coach. So again, I don't know what to expect in Russia. With Osorio, I don't expect much. With they get Tuca, they get La Volpe. I don't know. Maybe I expect a quarterfinals. I really do think that they can get to the quarterfinals with the crop. I don't know if they can get the mental game. Right.
It's not. I mean, and it's not just the crop that they have in place now. There's a lot of young talent in Mexico. Your Orbelín Pinedas, the kids from America that are really good, that are young, but that could use that national team exposure.
But
Cesar Montes.
Here's the thing, Rico. There, and I'm not knocking on Chicharo for this, and I'm not knocking on any player for this, but Cuauhtémoc Blanco was the type of player that could take the team on his shoulder. And Mexico doesn't have that right now.
And they haven't had it for a while.
They haven't had it for a while. They haven't had it for a long time.
Yeah, I thought that was wrong. I thought that was missing in this game against Germany, just being that Guardado. He's like the leader.
This hasn't. They haven't had somebody like that in the whole Osorio era.
No, but I mean that's because I feel like he chooses not to have it.
Yes,
because I see Peralta as a player that can, rally the troops. And then, I don't know if he was injured, but he didn't play him. And he had Marquez, which under the circumstances I would have started him.
But it just feels like some of these guys have been there for a long time, and they're still not being able to do this. We can't have Peralta and Rafa Marquez out there forever, Guardado forever.
Dude, Guardado's 27. He's not. I mean, he's not that old.
27?
Yeah.
I thought he was closer to like 30s.
No, he was 18 when he played. Or
19.
Yeah, so 18, 22. Okay, so he's closer to 30, but still, he's not.
Yeah.
It's not like he's like 35.
But this could be their last World Cup.
Well, yeah, for Guardado for sure. I think Chicharito might have one more in him.
Guardado's 30, John. I just asked Wikipedia.
What did Wikipedia say?
30.
No, did
he's gonna be 31 in September.
Did one of you guys get in there and like change it to 30 right before you looked at it? Just to prove that it's 30. Okay, so
but again, a lot of these guys have been there for a long time, so it's like if these guys aren't stepping up, I mean, there has to be somebody that's going to step up. So we do need a leader out in the field that we don't have.
Well, and that's why this Gold Cup could prove to be very important for.
It's funny those late '90s teams had like a ton of leadership, maybe not as much skill, but they had a ton of guys that played with.
They had a bunch of machos out there. There's no question.
Yeah.
There's not that many machos on this team.
Guys, I mean those guys dance quebraditas. These guys, they listen to techno. It's a different breed of men. Team. Guys now on that team.
To me, that's the golden generation.
Yeah.
This is the silver generation.
The silver spoon.
La generación plateada.
They're more like the silver spoon generation. Like Ricky Schroeder riding the little train into the
Jason Bateman was on that show, and I firmly believe that they had to take him off that show because he was funnier and better than Ricky Schroeder. I'm serious.
Remember when they had Menudo?
Oh, I have to hang on a second. But before we talk Menudo, I have to ask Joel about his super friends watching.
I watched that one episode.
Just the one? You haven't watched because I sent you the apparently that guy had.
I did. I have it.
The whole season.
No, I saw that one.
Yeah. How was that? Was it any good?
That's pretty good, except some of it was a little bit too much.
What show are you guys watching?
Challenge of the Super Friends, dude.
Yeah, it's an old '70s cartoon where it's all the DC Comics good guys against all the DC Comics bad guys. So like they interchange. Like Superman won't be fighting Lex Luthor. He'll be fighting whoever the big yellow guy from Green Lantern. What are the guys called? Parallax. But anyway, well, gentlemen, I think that Osorio is going to stay, and I think the expectations will probably be pretty low for this particular World Cup. There's the players apparently seem to have a lot of unity, but maybe that was just I guess if they're saying it, is it true? Who knows? But I mean, if Osorio does stay and they do qualify and he does stay in there, I mean, I think it has to be on the players to just say, hey, man, this is, as you guys are saying, this is our last World Cup. Let us have a little more say in how things, let it help us help you, and vice versa, and then hopefully they'll. I bet that would be the only way. But other than that, it's just going to be a total crapshoot. Now, ideally, I think if they do make a change, they would want to make it very quickly, probably after the Gold Cup, and then bring in, obviously, and I'm a Tuca guy. I think that would be just a great way for him to end his career, and I think that the players would probably appreciate it. They seem to work well together, and then you bring in the guy that knows the league well and knows the younger players well to see how they can do in that period of transition that Ron is describing, which is absolutely going to happen. So, is that guy Almeida? Is that guy Vucetich? Who knows? But it's going to have to be somebody that they're going to absolutely have to give time to get him to work on things. And if it turns out that the base is a young team, then you send them to the Olympics and you etc. So, but they have to find those players, and so at this point, it's going to be an all or nothing campaign for Russia 2018 that you start new with the new guy as they start transitioning this. So that's why a guy like Tuca, La Volpe, Piojo to a certain degree, Vucetich, I think that he would probably be better off on the other end of it. So that's what I ideally would like to have. But I do think that Osorio does stay, and I do think that it's. I think that we're going to start seeing Mexico kind of go on a downslope here, and I don't know if they're going to have the stones to make the change after they've already qualified. So if they're going to do it, do it before September. So, all right, gentlemen. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. We'll have a show again next week. Joel, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, John. Always a pleasure to be on the show.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Joel. It's the feeling is mutual.
It's therapeutic.
A little cathartic for some folks, I understand. Rigoberto, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Enjoy the lovely heat and humidity in Orlando this week.
Oh, thank you.
On the 4th. Ronnie, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it. And I didn't get a chance to drive Chiqui's by Rita's, but it was on the way. It was on the way. We'll have to do it next time. Well, this has been the Cantina MX podcast. We really do thank you all for joining us, and thank everyone that participated on the chat. Really appreciate it. And sorry we couldn't get to the phone lines. We'll probably do that next week. Chiquis is our our technical director Alberto Campa was not unable to join us tonight, so we did not have a full complement of our technological abilities tonight on the show. We'll make up for that for you guys next week. So we'll talk to you guys then. Again, you can listen to this show live every Thursday night on YouTube on the Cantina MX channel, or you can download this and all our previous editions of our podcasts from the Google Play Center or as well from iTunes. So we do appreciate y'all downloading those as well. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you guys very much.